أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to the video. So this video is entitled the Dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acting as Wahab, a bestower. Okay. Um, so in this video, we're going to basically try to understand the name al-Wahab better by looking at the usage of Wahabna. And Wahabna means we bestowed. So Allah speaking in the plural third person is saying we bestowed. So he's owning an action, and the action is of bestowal. So he bestowed something upon a righteous servant of his, and we're going to see who they were and what the situations were and whatnot. But we bestowed, so the person who is bestowing is a Wahab. In another place in the Quran, Allah says, Innaka anta al-Wahab. So he owns in a dua, or Sulaiman al-Islam says, Innaka anta al-Wahab. And Allah quotes Sulaiman al-Islam as saying that in a dua or at the end of a dua. And so it's explicit that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Wahab. When he says Wahabna, it's not clear if he's acting as the superlative al-Wahab or he's acting as a Wahab. That isn't clear in this particular situation. But what is clear, when Allah acts with the action of Wahab, it is pure Wahhabiyat, right? So he is a Wahab, and he's pure. The action of Wahabna is purely displaying the quality of bestowal, right? And so we're looking at every single usage of this verb in the Quran, and let's get started. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. And also through understanding this, you will understand how to call upon al-Wahab better. So another subtitle, instead of Allah acting as Wahab, a bestower, could be how to call upon uh, al-Wahab part 2. Right? This is also seeing the situations in which Allah acts as Wahab will show you the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When these type of situations occur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acts as Wahab or al-Wahab, and that shows his sunnah of one of his sunan. It shows one of the sunan of Allah, and when you know that sunan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you know when to use this name and how to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this name, okay, or to elicit this action from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the introduction, a quick note, we basically read the text in these type of videos, and then I go through them, and I do some commentary. So let's get started. The name al-Wahhab is mentioned 3 times in the Quran, but there are 9 mentions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that He acts as Wahhab. Our manhaj in this document is to gather every mention of Wahabna in the Quran in sequence, and to identify the pattern of usage and thus the precise meaning of the phrase as used in the Quran by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acting as Wahhab will allow us to more fully know the meaning of the name al-Wahhab and to better call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this name. So I have to go back and make this a heading like this one. But Surah Al-Anam, Ayah 84, the first dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran, Allah bestows Ibrahim, Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam. Okay, we need to edit that title as well. Ayah 684 occurs as the final in a sequence of ayat that mention Ibrahim al-Islam. In it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the bestowal of Isaac and Yaqub to Ibrahim al-Islam, or upon Ibrahim al-Islam, and that all of them, all 3, were guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, and we bestowed on him Isaac and Yaqub, all we guided and knew we guided before, and from his descendants, David and Solomon and Job and Joseph and Moses and Aaron. Thus do we reward the doers of good / beauty, the muhsineen, al-muhsineen, right? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon Ibrahim al-Islam, Isaac and Yaqub, both of who were guided and prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an immense bestowal. Al-Wahab bestowed the kingdom of Sulaiman upon Sulaiman, and he bestowed two guided prophets as sons to Ibrahim al-Islam. These are immense bestowals, as we have seen in the Dhikr of al-Wahab in the Qur'an, and as we will continue to see here in the Dhikr of Wahabna. Wahabna is never used for a small gift or arbitrary bestowal. So when Allah gives something really big, that's not just an izafa or an increase in mal, but also an increase in stature and muqam. Right? This is Wahabna. Wahabna is immense. So Ibrahim al-Islam being given Yaqub and Isaac, from whom Bani Israel and all the Anbiya of Bani Israel came, that's a huge bestowal upon Ibrahim al-Islam. Giving Musa al-Islam, Harun al-Islam as a vizier, but not just any vizier, his own brother as a Nabi. Giving him a vizier who's also a Nabi is a huge bestowal. Right? So Wahab is used for big things. Wahabna is used for big things. And so let's read the ayat again, or the translation. And we bestowed it on him, Isaac and Yaqub. All we guided, and knew we guided before, and from his descendants, David and Suleiman, and Ayub and Yusuf and Musa and Harun. Thus do we reward the doers of good beauty. And so here Allah actually is showing a sunnah of His. Thus do we reward the doers of the good or beauty, the muhsinin, al-muhsinin. That when you or this is not only for the anbiya. If you qualify as one of the al-muhsinin, right? If you qualify as one of the al-muhsinin, and we will be making posts as how to qualify as one of the al-muhsinin based upon the Quran. If you qualify, then what Allah bestowed upon Isaac and Yaqub and Nuh, and from Dawood and Suleiman and Ayub and Yusuf and Musa and Harun, what Allah bestowed upon them is something, that quality of bestowal can also occur on the Muhsineen. This is not only for the Anbiya, of course the Anbiya have the highest degree, but this is for all the Muhsineen. This is Allah saying that this is a sunnah of mine regarding the Muhsineen. Okay. So the second dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran, Surah Maryam, Ayah 49, Allah bestows Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam. So we're talking about the same occurrence in Ayah 1 and Ayah 2. In the first and second dhikr of Wahabna, the same event is taking place. We'll see there's going to be a different language, and the ayah is going to be significantly different. In the background, let's read it. فَلَمَّا أُعْتَزَ لَهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا نَبِيًّا. In the background context of Ayah 1949, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has quoted a long speech of Ibrahim al-Islam giving dawah to his father in a very gentle, honoring, and loving manner. But his father responds harshly and aggressively. So Ibrahim al-Islam says, Salam. He says salam to his father and relies upon his Lord, and informs his father that he will leave those who invoke other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in Ayah 1949, he has actually left, and that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows Ibrahim al-Islam and Yaqub al-Islam upon him. So falamma so basically that's happening in the background, so I won't read this ayat again, but it's saying this is what Ibrahim al-Islam does. He says salam to his father, who responds aggressively to his dawah, relies upon his Lord, and informs his father that he's going to leave. He's basically going to make hijrah, and he's telling his father. And in ayah 1949, he has already actually left. Right? In this ayah, he's actually already left, and that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows Ibrahim al-Islam and Yaqub al-Islam upon him. Allahi wahabna lahu ishaqa wa yaquba. Right? So فَلَمَّا أُعْتَزَى لَهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. So this أُعْتَرَى لَهُم, this is so when he had left those who worship from other than Allah, min dunillahi, wahablahu, we bestowed upon him his Ishaqa wa Yaquba, Isaac and Yaqub, wa kulla ja'alna nabiyan, and all of them we appointed anbiya. Kullan, we appointed anbiya. Now this kullan, it includes Ibrahim al-Islam, so all three of them he appointed Ibrahim as nabis. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah 1949, so when he, okay, we already read this, we bestowed upon him Isaac and Yaqub. So let's look at the third dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows rahmah from himself. Wahabna lahum min rahmatina wa ja'alna lahum lisanan sidqan aliyah. So ayah 1950 obviously has the exact same background context as the 1949, the second dhikr of Wahabna as the third. Wahabna as the third. Okay, so basically, look, this is ayah 1949, this is ayah 1950, and both uh, Lisa, Wahabna is mentioned, right? Habna, this Wahabna is mentioned. So this is Allah saying we bestowed. So in two consecutive ayats. So the background context is the same as the one we just discussed in 1949. So and occurs immediately after, just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed Isaac and Yaqub al-Islam upon Ibrahim al-Islam, so he bestowed upon them from his rahmah in addition and other than appointing them prophets. So we know from other places in the Quran that the nabuwa is a great rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just upon the qawm, not just upon the ummah that receives the nabi, but also upon the nabi himself, right? The person who receives nabuwa, it is a great rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of them of giving them nabuwa. It is a great rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First making them worthy of it, then actually bestowing the nabuwa on them, or not worthy of it, but the one most worthy of it from amongst their people. And then He bestows rahmah upon them with nabuwa. It's a great rahmah, right? So now Allah is saying, وَهَبْ لَهُمْ. He already said in this ayah, He said, um, وَهَبْلَ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا نَبِيًّا. So Allah bestowed Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim. So Isaac and Yaqub must be blessed in order to be a blessing. They themselves must be blessed in order to be a blessing to Ibrahim al-Islam. But here the emphasis is that Isaac and Yaqub are a bestowal, a blessing, a blessed bestowal upon Ibrahim al-Islam. So Ibrahim al-Islam is the beneficiary of the bestowal. وَقُلَّ جَعَلْنَا نَبِيًّا. But here then Allah says we made them all nabiyas, so this is obviously benefiting all of them. It's a great rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then He says, in addition, wa wahabna, and we bestowed. Wa wahabna. So one of the was is wahabna, and then the other is the and wahabna lahum min rahmatina, um, and we bestowed upon them from our from our rahmah, وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ, and appointed uh, for them lisana sidkin aliyah. So then Allah had like He bestowed additional rahm upon all of them, moreover beyond the nabuwa. So beyond the nabuwa, Allah bestowed more rahm upon them from His own self, rahmatina lahum lisanan sidkin aliyah. And then, in addition to the additional bestowal of rahmah, then He appointed for them lisanan sidkin aliyah, so a word or speech about them that was true and high. That was true and high, and aliyan means noble, also high and noble. So Allah appointed speech for them as like an eternal reality that is both true, that's verified, and it's also high and noble, right? So let's read this. Okay, prophets and His Rahmah is manifest in His appointing for them speech that is truthful and high. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we bestowed upon them from our Rahmah and appointed for them speech truthful, high. That's the translation of the ayah. So Surah Maryam, ayat 53. This is the translation. Surah Maryam, ayat 53. This is also close to the other two. The fourth dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows Aaron as a prophet upon Moses from his rahmah. So Harun is bestowed upon Musa al-Islam from his rahmah. I know it's confusing that I use the Western names for the prophets, but I'm doing it for SEO purposes, and also because I want people to be able to come to this website and benefit from it, even if they're not Muslim. Muslim, this to be a means of dawah, and so sometimes I've experimented with this, but it gets confusing. So I'm just going to focus this website on Muslims and make a separate website for non-Muslims. And please do support the dawah if you can. I want to keep this content free. I am planning on monetizing in various ways. Um, until we can get a monthly infaq of $2,000 to $3,000, which will support the website and also support me in authoring the content for the website and other other things that are related to all this. And until we can get to that point, I will be monetizing it, but I would like to be able to give all of this out for free. But that requires about $2,000 to $3,000 of income. I'm living in Medina and going to the Haram daily to purify myself, because this is a very high knowledge. This isn't something I can just, study, in New Orleans or study in Las Vegas. It's something I have to be in a very pure environment to imbue this from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to communicate it. And so I want to be in the Haram when or close to the Haram when I'm publishing these things. And so all of that, of course, requires resources, and I have various things that I need to spend upon also. So if you are willing to support this dawah, please do support it. Right now, I'm still building this website, so the best way is just to comment. And if you leave your email in the comment, I won't make it public. It doesn't become public automatically. I have to approve it, and so I won't make it public. If you can just leave me a message in the comments, and I will most definitely. Get back. I'll email you from my private email, and then we can correspond as to how you can support. Even if you can help promote it, that would be helpful. Inshallah, let's keep going. So the fourth dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran, Allah bestows Harun upon Musa al-Islam as a prophet from his Rabbna. وَحَبْلُ مِنْ رَحْمَاتِنَا أَخَاهُ هَارُونَ نَبِيًّا. So he bestowed upon him from his rahmah. The his is Allah here. Min rahmatina, from our rahmah. Akhahu Haruna nabiyan, his brother Harun as a nabi. In Surah Maryam, Ayah 53, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us of his bestowal upon Musa al-Islam from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his brother Harun as a Nabi. This is quite an interesting ayah. At the incidents of the burning bush, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala charged, this is happening at the burning bush. At the incidents of the burning bush, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala charges Musa al-Islam and then bestows upon, with his mission, and then bestows upon Musa al-Islam his brother Harun as a Nabi, as a rahmah upon Musa. This bestowal of his brother as a prophet upon Musa al-Islam distributes the weight of Musa al-Islam's mission and charge, and provides a host of other benefits to Musa al-Islam. It also clearly shows that Musa al-Islam in the primary that Musa al-Islam is the primary messenger charged by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go to Fir'aun. Harun al-Islam and his prophethood are a bestowal that benefit upon Musa al-Islam for his benefit, and subservient to him granted for okay. So let me read it again. Harun al-Islam and his prophethood are a bestowal upon Musa al-Islam, and subservient to Musa al-Islam granted for his benefit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being Wahab, is manifest in this bestowal of prophecy upon Harun al-Islam, and his bestowal of Harun al-Islam upon Musa al-Islam. This about being gifted with your own personal prophet. Think about being gifted with your own personal prophet. So that's basically what happens to Musa al-Islam. He's being gifted his own personal prophet as an assistant, right? That's basically what's happening. In other places, Allah says, I gave you Harun as a wazir. So wazir basically means assistant or advisor or something like that. So basically think about it, having an assistant who is a prophet. And that's what Allah is bestowing upon Musa al-Islam. This is no small bestowal. As we have seen in every dhikr of al-Wahab and Wahabna, this root is never used for small things. As we have seen in every dhikr of al-Wahab and Wahabna, this root is never used for small things. Also, we're beginning to see a pattern that the root Wahaba Wow ha ba is used for additional, extra, unnecessary but deeply desirable benefits. So this is important. This root wahaba is used for additional, extra, bonus, unnecessary but deeply desirable benefits. So nothing that Allah does as al-Wahab, or that He owns as Wahabna, none of these things are essential or necessary, but they're like a bonus. They're like rahma upon rahma. There's some great, immense, beneficial, desirable thing that Allah bestows upon someone that isn't essential. It's not necessary. It's not like an essential nutrient or something, but it is good. It is beneficial. It makes things easier. It's like it does enable something to be possible that wasn't possible before, but there's a sense of this is additional, this is extra, right? Allah is giving something extra, right? And especially extra in kind of like the modern hip usage, like something's extra. That kind of is a good description of what wahab means, right? Not in the bad sense, but in a good sense. Those who are already guided ask for rahma. uh, Okay, additional, extra, but deeply. Those who are already guided ask for rahmah. Sulaiman al-Islam, now these are examples of that bonus, additional nature of Wahabna. Those who are already guided ask for rahmah. Sulaiman al-Islam, who is already a prophet and king, asks for a kingdom like none will possess after him. Musa al-Islam is a Nabi, and an extra Nabi is bestowed upon him to assist him. Isaac and Yaqub al-Islam are already prophets, but now they are granted speech, truthful and high, and perhaps most absolutely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already made the alas with us in the alim arwa, but He sends down revelation as an extra reminder of what we already know in our fitra, etc. So you see here, it's not only just extra and additional, it's like extra and additional upon those who are already blessed, right? So Suleiman is already a king prophet, one of the greatest kings of Bani Israel, and already a Nabi and a great Nabi, and he already has a kingdom. But he's so blessed. He has like a harem of 100 wives, and then Allah bestows upon him more. Like He gives him a kingdom like none other, right? Musa al-Islam has already been chosen. He's lived the life of a prince, and now he's married, and he's traveling with his family, and then he's given the Nabuwa, and then after he's been given the Nabuwa, he's given another Nabi, or he's given the Risala, and he's given Harun as a Nabi to him, like an assistant to him, right? It's extra upon extra upon extra, right? So those who are already on Hidayat, who are already Mahdi, right? Those who are already Mahdi then ask for additional rahmah. Being Mahdi is a big hidayah, is a big fazilat, is a big khair. And so they're already, Mahdi, and then they're asking for additional rahmah, right? Ibrahim al-Islam is already Khalilullah. He's already, he's been thrown into a fire, and the fire has been made cool for him. Been made a Nabuwa. He's alone in a mushrik people, and Allah guides him to Iman. When he's sick, Allah makes him healthy. He gives him shifa. And then on top of that, once he makes the hijrah, he's given Isaac and Yaqub as in naflan, in one place in the Quran. Allah said, we gave Isaac and Yaqub naflan, like as an additional, as a bonus. That's coming up in the um, that's coming up in one of in this document. We'll look at that. So it's like extra upon extra. Wahab is like you're already blessed, and Allah takes your blessing to a completely new level, right? This is kind of what wahabna means. So Surah Anbiya, ayat 72, 21, 72, the fifth dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows Isaac and Yaqub al-Islam upon Ibrahim al-Islam as a bonus. The third dhikr of the bestowal of Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim in the Quran. So this is the third time Allah is mentioning the bestowal of Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam. And this is three of the five dhikr of Wahabna so far in the Quran are Isaac and Yaqub bestowed upon Ibrahim al-Islam. So keep that in mind, that this is a very important example of Allah's bestowal. And we will do a post in which we're going to look exclusively at these three or four mentions of Isaac and Yaqub being bestowed upon Ibrahim al-Islam, and why it's such an important event that Allah mentions multiple times, and why it's so deeply, why every time He does, He uses the word Wahabna to own it, we bestowed. Why He does that, we're going to look into that in depth in a separate post. So let's read this. وَحَبْلُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ nafilatun. This is the nafal, like nafal salah. Nafilatun bonus. وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا صَالِحِينَ. In Ayah 2172, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions His bestowal of Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam for a second, no, for a third time, but this time He adds that they were bestowed as a bonus or something extra. So this is like that discussion we just had in this in the fourth dhikr of Wahabna, of it being something a bonus, in addition, something extra, blessing upon blessing, this type of thing. Non-essential but desirable and beneficial. He says, and we bestowed upon him Isaac and Yaqub as a bonus, in addition, and all of them we appointed as righteous. Okay. So the translation of the ayah here is, he says, and we bestowed upon him Isaac and Yaqub as bonus, in addition, and all of them we appointed as salihin, righteous. They, excuse me, these are deep theological points to be drawn. There are deep theological points to be drawn from this phrase naflatun in relationship to the bestowal of Yaqub and Isaac, meaning the debate between Bani Israel and the Ishmaelis, or Ishmaelites, the Arabs, the Sayyids, the Quraysh, the Ishmaeli Arabs, the Qahrani, Adnani Arabs. We have this debate that, who are the Imams, right? Of Nas, and they have their idea, we have our idea, but this naflatun, from a Muslim perspective, since we believe in the Quran, it really resolves a lot of the questions if we look into this idea of naflatun. And so it's important, we'll come back to it in a different post. It basically makes it clear that they were not essential, because Ibrahim al-Islam, so Isaac and Yaqub are not essential to Allah's plan. They're not essential, they didn't have to exist for Allah's plan for the nijat, the salvation of humanity to happen. They were not essential, because Ibrahim al-Islam already had Ishmael al-Islam when Isaac al-Islam was born, and the covenant of priesthood had already taken place before Isaac al-Islam was even born, due to the sacrifice of Ishmael al-Islam. So the covenant of priesthood happens as a reward. It happens as a reward for Ibrahim al-Islam's willingness to sacrifice his only son, Ishmael al-Islam. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ultimate plan of salvation for Bani Adam was already provided for in the line of Ishmael al-Islam, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ultimate plan of salvation for Bani Adam was already provided for in the line of Ishmael al-Islam, while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirms the guidance, prophethood, and righteousness of Isaac and Yaqub, He also makes it clear that salvation could and would have been accomplished without them. They are an elaboration and a beautification of divine history. They are not essential to it. This directly negates the exceptional chosenness claimed by Bani Israel. It is not the seed of Isaac and Yaqub that is chosen, but the seed of Ibrahim alayhi salam. The Jews are amongst the chosen line, not the totality of it. Coming back to our main topic, it is, and this is important for geopolitics as well, because with the Israel and Palestine thing going on, the reason that America and Donald Trump and the Christian American Bible Belt, the Protestants, all them, the reason they so strongly support Zionism is because, or Israel and Zionism, is because the biblical narrative, or the narrative they make out of the Bible, right? So we have to provide a counter narrative to it, and this is the key to it, that the Jews are not exceptionally chosen, they're amongst the chosen, and the whole theology of that and the whole story of that, because there are Protestants who are not so pro-Israel because they don't buy into the end time story that the Bible Belt Christians have kind of bought into. And so if we provide this alternative narrative, and it can't, because it's biblically based, it can be acceptable to Christians. And so there's this opportunity to make alliances with Eastern Orthodox Christians, Oriental Orthodox Christians. Many Protestants in the U.S. are good people, and they would be willing to accept a Bible-based alternative counter narrative, especially if it's more authentic. And so there's an opportunity for that there that's why I'm going to make that post. So coming back to our main topic, in this same phrase naflatun, there is an explication of the fact that wahaba verbs are used in the Quran to bestow something extra in addition as a bonus. So naflatun explicates that. Um, it like emphasizes it, it explicates it, it makes it clear something that was already being implied before. Dhikr's al-Wahabna is now explicated in this adjective. Here the phrase naflatun makes it explicit, but in every other usage of al-Wahab or Wahabna that we have seen so far, it is perfectly clear from context that an additional good or benefit is being provided to someone who is already blessed. This good, in addition to something extra as a bonus, thus non essential and also extraordinary, exceptional good that is bestowed as a direct act of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beyond natural and ordinary means or apparently chain of causation. Surah Anbiya 2190 is the sixth dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows John upon Zakaria. In Ayah 2190, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us that we responded to the dua of Zakaria, and that he responded to the dua of Zakaria, and then he lists the attributes of Zakaria and his wife that he loves. He says, so we responded to him and we bestowed upon him John and amended for him his wife. Indeed, they used to hasten to good acts, and they called upon us with desire, and they were to us in awe-filled submission. So here we explicitly see that the divine acts of bestowal occur in response to a dua. This was implied before, but never did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explicitly say. So we responded to him and we bestowed upon him. Um, so here we explicitly see that the divine act of bestowal occurs in a response to a dua. So this was employed before, but never did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explicitly say. So we responded to him and we bestowed upon him. Further, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes how Zakaria alayhi salam and his wife used to live. This shows us that the type of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala most fully manifests himself as al-Wahab too. So al-Wahab is manifest in response to Zakaria, because Allah is bestowing something upon Zakaria. He is bestowing Yahya. So Zakaria is it, it this name manifests in reply to a certain sort of person, right? And so we know Sulaiman al-Islam, people who are Mahdi already, Ibrahim al-Islam, but here this is a normal person. Hazrat Zakaria is one of the Imams. He's from the lineage of Harun. He's a high priest, or he's a priest in the temple in Jerusalem, right? So he's not a Nabi, but he's a purified priest. He's a pure priest, right? And he's saying and he's making a dua. So we responded to him and we bestowed upon him John and amended for him his wife. His wife was barren, so Allah fixed her, or did the opposite of fixing her. May Allah forgive me. Indeed, they used to have. So this is what Allah loved about him and his wife. Indeed, they used to hasten to good acts, and they called upon us with desire, and they were to us in awe-filled submission. Wahab waqanu khashiya. Aslahna lahu zawjahu. So he did the islah. So he made the islah for her. So here we explicitly see that the divine act of bestowal occurs in response to a dua. This was implied before, but never did Allah explicitly say. Okay, we read that. He says, "Indeed, they used to hasten to the best deeds and call upon us with desire and fear. And so they used to do good deed and they used to make dua to Allah, and they used to do it with desire. They like when they wanted something really with longing, they used to call upon Allah and they used to fear Allah, and they were to us in all filled submission. So they used to worship Allah in submission to Him, filled with awe. Let's look at the wording of that. Uh, وَرَحَبًا وَقَالُوا لَنَا هَشِيًا خاشعين. So they had the khashiyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now notice, yeah, may Allah give us all khashiyah of Him, inshallah. That's hard, and nowadays we have so much ghafla in the dunya. It's hard to have khashiyah. May Allah give us all khashiyah in our salah and in our lives. Now notice that the bestowal upon Zakaria is that of Yahya al-Islam as one of the greatest and one of the last prophets who ever lived. Think about having a son bestowed upon you who has one of the greatest prophets. However, many of us would be happy with lesser bestowals, so we should not be intimidated in trying to imitate Zakaria. We should try, but not be intimidated in trying. To whatever degree we embody his virtues listed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to that degree we'll have our dua responded to and be bestowed upon. So what are the virtues? Number one, hasten to good actions. Hasten to good acts. Call upon Allah with desire and have khashiyah of Allah. Okay, let's see how much time we have left or how long the video is so far. 36 minutes. Wow. Let's see how many. Okay, so three more. You get the idea of Wahabna, right? You get the idea of Wahabna and Wahab and Wahaba. But I'm going to go over these really quickly, and you already get the idea. So if you're still watching, it's up to you. But they're short. I'm going to go over them. The video is going to be a little bit longer. Let's see how it works out. Surah Ankabut, Ayah 27, the seventh dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran, the fourth dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowing Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam. In Ayah 29-27, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the fourth dhikr of His bestowing Isaac on Yaqub. This is the fourth time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning this, right? The fourth time. Each dhikr has provided new information and been articulated in a unique way. And notice, Wahabna, we bestowed. So even when Allah talks about like different things, sometimes He uses the same root but a different word, like we bestowed or our bestowal or the thing we bestowed, right? He'll use the same root but a different word. Maybe it'll be a verb, maybe it'll be a noun. He'll do it in a different way when He mentions the same occurrence. But here, every single time Allah mentions the bestowal of Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam, it's always habna, we did it, we bestowed, right? وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ وَجَعَلْنَا فِي ذُرِّيَّةِ النُّبُوَّةَ وَالْكِتَابَ وَآتَيْنَاهُ أجره في الدنيا وإنه في الآخرة لمن الصالحين. So in Ayah 29-27, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the fourth dhikr of His bestowing Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam. Each dhikr has provided new information and be articulated in a unique way. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we bestowed Isaac and Yaqub and appointed in his descendants the prophethood and the book. And we imparted reward in the worldly life, and indeed in the hereafter they will surely be amongst the righteous. And we bestowed Isaac and Yaqub and appointed in his descendants the prophethood and the book. And we imparted reward in the worldly life, and indeed in the hereafter they will surely be amongst the righteous. So prophethood has been mentioned before, but here the book is explicitly mentioned. Also the fact that they were rewarded in the worldly life as well is explicitly mentioned. And lastly, their inclusion in the Salihin in the hereafter is also new. Notice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the prophethood and the book was placed in his seed, not their seed. Therefore, the prophets that came in the line of Isaac and Yaqub were not so blessed because of Isaac and Yaqub, but rather because of their descent from Ibrahim al-Islam himself. So Isaac and Yaqub are blessed because of their descent from Ibrahim al-Islam. So Ibrahim al-Islam is the source of the blessing, right? So therefore, the prophets that came in the line of Isaac and Yaqub were not so blessed because of Isaac and Yaqub, but rather because of their descendants from Abraham himself. And the final prophethood and revelation of the book of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the form of the Quran is also an identical expression to this appointment of the prophethood and the book and the descendant Ibrahim al-Islam. And the final prophethood and the revelation of the book to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the form of the Quran is also an identical expression of this appointment of the prophethood and the book and the descendants of Ibrahim al-Islam. This ayah is also relevant to the debate between the Jews and Bani Ishmael because um, this same ayah is saying that Allah put the book and the Nabuwa in the Zuriyat of Ibrahim. He appointed it there, meaning he made it exclusive there. He made it there. That's the divine appointment of something. So it's an eternal reality, a new eternal reality that Allah has established. So Nabuwa and Kitab is in the Zuriyat of Ibrahim. So if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in the Zuriyat of Ibrahim, so it doesn't matter if he's in the Zuriyat of Isaac or Yaqub. You see what I'm saying? So this is another one of those ayah that this debate between the descendants of the two brothers of Ibrahim, the two sons of Ibrahim al-Islam, the two brothers Isaac and Ishmael. This is one of those ayahs that's relevant to that debate. And so this is the fourth zikr. It's an important event that Allah has mentioned 4 times. So we will be looking exclusively at the Wahabna of, of Isaac and Yaqub to Ibrahim al-Islam because there's a lot of important theological points that come up in looking at those 4 ayahs so far. Okay, the 8th dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows Sulaiman upon Dawood. Wahabna li Dawood Sulaimana ni'ma al-abdu innahu al-Waab. In ayah 38:30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us that He bestowed upon David Solomon, an exceptional worshipper, indeed oft returning. Um, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is the translation, and we bestowed upon David Suleiman, an exceptional worshipper, indeed oft returning. Similar to the bestowal of Isaac and Yaqub upon Ibrahim al-Islam and the bestowal of Harun upon Musa al-Islam, this is a blessing for the person who receives the bestowal. Obviously, in order to be a blessing upon another, you yourself must be blessed. However, the emphasis here is that David was benefited through the bestowal of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Notice again that Wahabna has been used mostly for the bestowal of prophets upon their fathers or their brothers, in the case of Musa al-Islam. Think again of having a prophet bestowed upon you for your benefit. This is no small bestowal. The 9th dhikr of Wahabna we bestowed in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows rahmah upon Ayub in the form of his family and the like of them. In the background of ayat of 38:9, Ayub al-Islam has been touched by shaitan with distress and torment. So he calls upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who caused a spring of water to gush at his feet, and he says, and we bestowed upon him his family and the like of them with them, a rahmah from us, and a reminder for those of understanding. And his family and the like of them as a rahmah from us and a reminder for those of understanding. So there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon Ayub as a response to his call. But Ayub al-Islam, so in the background of this, Ayub al-Islam has called upon Allah. He hasn't explicitly asked for something, but he's made a statement of his state, you know, and he hasn't explicitly asked for anything, and he hasn't expressed a need. He just kind of complains to Allah and describes his own state. Uh, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon Ayyub al-Islam as a response to his call, but Ayyub al-Islam only says, indeed Shaitan has touched me with hardship and torment. That's what he says. That's a quote. Notice that he only complains of his state and does not ask for anything specific. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds by providing what Ayyub al-Islam needs in that state. He provides a spring of water to bathe in and drink, which alleviates the suffering of Ayyub al-Islam, whatever it is. So, we have a biblical narrative about Job or Ayub, but here Allah isn't explicit about what the torment is, what the sickness is, or what's going on. Um, but the water cures him of both the it cures him of uh, like whatever the disease is, right? By bathing in it and by drinking it. Um, And then in addition he says, and we bestowed upon him his family, and the like of them with them, a rahmah from us, and a reminder for those of understanding. And then in addition he says, and we bestowed upon him his family, and the like of them with them, a rahmah from us, and a reminder for those of understanding. This shows against that wahaba has to do with the non-essential. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows in addition to what is needed, and it also shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs not be called upon as al-Wahab to act as al-Wahab. This shows again that Wahaba has to do with the non-essential when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows in addition to what is needed, and it also shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to be called upon al-Wahab to act as al-Wahab. And then in addition he says, and we bestowed upon him his family. So yeah, so Allah, what was needed was the spring. So Ayyub al-Islam described his state, and in that state what Ayyub al-Islam needed was the spring of water, the miraculous spring of water to spring at his feet, and for him to drink and bathe in it to cure the state that he had complained of, right? But then Allah says, in addition, Wahabna, as a bonus, we bestowed lahu ahlahu, his family back to him. So as a result of his sickness and his torment, he had lost his family. So Allah gives him back his family when he complains, and وَمِثْلَهُمْ ma'ahum rahmatan. So not only does he give him back his family, but the like of his family as a rahmah minna, as a rahmah from him, where he says, from me, was zikraya lil ulil albab, um, and a reminder, and a reminder for those of understanding, ulul albab. So we're also going to be soon making the usage or the dhikr of li uli ul albab, the people of understanding. This is a phrase that Allah uses often, and it's not intuitively perfectly clear. It hasn't been to me, and so we're going to make a video on our an article talking about this phrase in particular soon, inshallah. So that's the whole the dhikr of Wahabna in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala acting as Wahab or a bestower. And inshallah, I hope it was beneficial. Please like, please subscribe, please comment below to express appreciation or criticism. Both are welcome and appreciated. Um, and also, if you would please make infaq to support the dawa, and if you would like to give a hadiyah for my personal affairs, that would also be welcome. And if you would like to go beyond that, I have I'm a Sayyid, so there's a project I'm working on to provide historic justice to the Sadat, to put us back as a collective, as a tribe, as the priestly tribe of the Ummah, to put us back in the proper position as the priestly tribe, to reorganize the Sadat into a single tribe, and to put us in the centric position as the priesthood and ulul amr that the Sadat should have, as Anfus Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'm working on that for the collective. So obviously, as one of them, I'm also part of that. So I'm advocating for myself, not myself. And then there's also my father is a clinically diagnosed sociopath, and I come from a narcissistic family, literally like Firon and the courtesans of Firon. My family is that, or you can say Ibrahim al-Islam and the patriarchal structure behind Ibrahim al-Islam's father. I mean, Ibrahim al-Islam's father and the patriarchal structure behind Ibrahim al-Islam's father. I come from a family like that, and when you have a family dynamic like that, that you have to resist the way Ibrahim al-Islam resisted and the way Musa al-Islam resisted. I'm more natively, my manner is more like Ibrahim al-Islam. I have a lot of hilm, but then through the abuses, I became much more like Musa al-Islam. I developed a lot of anger, and so because the time we live in, my father always had the backing of the entire state, anyway, so I don't want to get too much into it. So I have my own personal muamalat that I need shifa for and salam for, and I'm working on all those things. So inshallah, if you want to, either if you want to make infaq to support the dawa, that is invited for, that is welcome. I would really appreciate it, but more so, you should do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His raza. If you like the work we're doing, the ilm we're putting out, there's three or more websites in the works, right? I'm authoring articles for this, so with SEO, the best way to do SEO is to like put 30 or 40 articles out there, around 1500 words each, but I'm doing longer articles. I've just started to adapt and cut it down instead of trying to make a complete article with every single, like this one's probably like around 3000, 4000 words. Instead of doing that, I'm trying to break it down and making each one of these into 3 or 4 different posts, just to get the number of posts up there and post more frequently and post uh, get the number of articles I need to optimize for SEO and Google search. And so I'm working on that, and so it's best to do that in the first 30 or 60 days. So I'm cautious to split my attention too much. But there's three other websites in the works which I have content for. Um, al-Hakim.com, in which we go according tartib and mushaf, and we look at the hikmah of the interrelationship of words in each ayah, words in each sentence of the Quran, and then each sentence, the interrelationship between each sentence in an ayah, and then between each ayah in the surah, and then between each surah in the Quran. Right, so the complete compositional analysis of the hikmah of the Quran's interrelationships. And then we look at, thirdly, we're looking at what I call authentic Islam, which is basically what the Western world will call political Islam, but it's articulating authentic Islam is not state preservation Islam. So traditional Islam, especially Sunni Islam, it tries to preserve the unjust state. The king is unjust, they do whatever they want, and based upon weird hadith, they just want or to reinterpret like ulul amr, but they forget ulul amr minkum. So if someone's a moment, they can't be a zalim, they cannot be a jabir, they can't be a moment and have those sifat, right? So they want to keep emphasizing ulul amr, but they don't want to emphasize minkum, like from the mu'minin, from you the mu'minin, right? So instead of state preservation Islam, we look at state process Islam, right? We look at authentic process justification of the earth, the juhud to justify the entire earth, to rectify the entire earth, to purify the entire earth. So that process of doing that, and it's not just a military process or a violent process, there's many aspects to that process. And so we look at that process oriented fiqh of Islam. We look at that in the third website. And in the fourth website, what we're doing is we look at Ayatul Qiyamah, but we look at it like as the final chapter in a novel, and what I call the grand narrative of creation, or the grand narrative of the first creation. So we look at it from the Big Bang, and we look at it both from a Quranic kind of narrative and then also like a scientific narrative, both fully integrated, right? We look at both fully integrated, a Quranic scientific narrative, and we go from the Big Bang, or and even before the Big Bang, the metaphysical unfoldment or the metaphysical process, and then the initiation of the physical process, then cosmological history, geological history, biological evolutionary history, and then primatological history, and then you know Homo sapien anthropological history, and then we look at Adam al-Islam about 5-6 thousand years ago, and then the biblical history, or the narrative of, and then we look at the last We look at the seerah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the light of the prophetic history, and then we look at the last 1400 years in the light of the seerah, but made new meaning out of by looking fully in the prophetic history. And then at the end of that, we look at the present moment. We take a big geopolitical analysis, sociological analysis, economic analysis, political analysis, and then after that, we look at the Ayatul Qiyamah, the minor signs and the 10 major signs in the as the final chapter, right, of the grand narrative of the first creation, right? So that's the fourth website, and that's more narrative oriented. So there, we're not going to. That's me writing, right? That's not going to be like me trying to explicate from the Quran or doing tafsil of the Quran. It's just going to be like so we're doing all that type of stuff, and there's details going to be up on this website and various websites. So please support the dawa. I want to hire a team soon. I have ideas about how to do that and train them, and there's all sorts of stuff that I need to do. So I would really appreciate infaq and also appreciate hadiya for my personal mamlat. I'll talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.